Thank you. And coming up in this never-to-be-forgotten show, Richard operates a bat. James sits in a car humming. And I park outside a cathedral. Thank you so much. Welcome, sir. Now, this is a bit of a Ford-based show because we were staggered to hear the other day that they're thinking of pulling the plug on the Mondeo.
Now, this is enormous news. In Britain, losing the Mondeo is a bit like, well, losing the royal family.
Yeah, and if that happened, someone would make a documentary about it.
Quite, which is why we decided this week the Grand Tour should make a documentary about the passing of Ford's medium-sized family saloon. It's exciting stuff. The Mondeo story actually begins way back when the world was black and white. With this, the Ford Cortina. This is Genesis, the first chapter in easily the most important book in British motoring history. It came along in 1962, and apart from the CND rear lights, it was nothing special. It wasn't revolutionary like the Mini, it was just an ordinary family saloon. Ford therefore decided that to put it on the map, they'd mount an assault on the world's racetracks, which meant creating a high-performance version, the world's first ever fast Ford. And this is what they came up with. Life doesn't get much better than this. Cadwell Park, sunny day, Mark 1 Lotus Cortina. This thing is a riot. Go. Right, onto the straight. Come on, turn! It had a revolutionary twin-cam 1.6-litre engine, which sounds like a murder of mad bees. It revved like hell, all the way to 8,000 RPM, and produced 105 horsepower. Oh, wow! The result was some spectacular performance. The road cars would do 108 miles an hour, and in race trim, that shot up to 145. That was the stuff of spaceships back then. And best of all, if you were really on it, it would lift the front wheel in the corners. On the downside, it didn't stop properly, and there was very little grip. So it was an oversteer mentalist. Go. Beep, 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 beep. Fast. It's fantastic. Yes! How clever is that? Oh my God! It was also astonishingly brittle. Autocar magazine ran one for a year, 29,000 miles, and in that time it needed 6 rear axles and 3 sets of rear suspension, and probably a whole load of new half shaft as well, because they were made from chocolate. But it didn't matter, because the Lotus Cortina wasn't designed to last a lifetime. It was designed to last about 40 minutes, because that is how long a race lasted. Back in the early 60s, saloon car racing in Britain was just about the most exciting motorsport the world had ever seen. Go. Roaring up. All right, okay. My bad.
This is undignified.
Fog! Oh no. Hello, how are you? Sorry, that was not on purpose. It is quite scary through here. Hello.
Think, Abby, think.
Oh, that's tidy. This is stop. The massive American Fords would roar down the straights, and then in the corners, the army of minis would be right back at them. It was beautiful, snarly chaos. But when the dust settled, it was the Lotus Cortina that was doing the winning. It actually won the championship in 1964, and it didn't only shine on the tracks. In 1966, it won the RAC Rally of Britain. Let's go. Oh, God. Oh, my God! Oh, At this point in history, Flashback had only just given way to the Rolling Stone, and the glamorous Cortina caught the mood of the moment perfectly. It was exciting, the first car ever that made the ordinary family man feel special, like he wasn't just a downtrodden cog. These were the best-selling cars Britain had ever seen by miles. You joined me in Doncaster, outside my old school. And I remember very clearly coming out of that door one afternoon in 1969, skipping along here, coming round this gatepost here, and I noticed that parked over there was a 1600E, an E in amber gold, just like that. And in it was my dad. And that was impossible. I can still remember now, vividly, how I felt. My knees actually buckled. I mean, the hairs on the back of my neck are rising now in exactly the same way as they did on that autumn day 50 years ago. I can also remember the enormity of the hug I gave my dad, because I was just so proud of him. I mean, he had an E. An E stood for executive. My dad had a 1600E. And that meant he was better than the Duke of Edinburgh. A few years later, in South Wales, another young boy called James May went through the exact same thing.
I was at my mate Andrew Jones's house, just up the road from ours, when his dad came in and said that my dad had just arrived home and he had a new car. So, I went outside, and there, parked next to the curb, was a brand new Cortina GXL. And I thought, well, that can't be my dad's new car. But it was.
This was the all-new Mark III Cortina. And because it was the GXL model, it had chrome strips on the grille, and a vinyl roof, and 4 auxiliary dials that were angled towards the driver.
It also had something called a rev counter, and I'd never seen one of those before. But when I looked at it, I suddenly became aware that my body could produce semen.
Unfortunately, not all children in Britain were as fortunate as James and me, because some of them were born in Birmingham. And you couldn't really have a Ford here because this was the home of British Leyland.
I grew up here, on this street, and I remember the day my dad came home with our new car. I prayed it would be a Cortina. Literally prayed. But it wasn't. What it was a shoulder-sagging bag of disappointment called the Austin Allegro Estate. It doesn't even have 4 doors. What was my father thinking? Why did he do that to us? I fell to my childish knees, threw my head back, and I howled at the sky.
Because my dad had the GXL, he got the brake servo and the alternator as standard. I'm sorry to keep banging on about this GXL thing, but my mate Lonnie, his dad only had an XL, so he was scum.
Go!
Driven one of these before, and to be honest, I never wanted to, because that really would be meeting a childhood hero. I love it, though.
Thanks, even better now, can't you? What about this one? I'd say.
Outside of Birmingham then, everyone, young and old, was in love with Ford's four-door saloon. Because of this love affair, Ford sold a Cortina somewhere in Britain every 47 seconds. In 20 years, they sold 2.6 million of them. And let me put it this way, British Leyland took twice as long as that to sell half as many Minis. The Cortina then had become a part of the fabric of Britain. It was the nitrogen of our existence. But on the 22nd of July, 1982, Ford pulled the plug. And that was the end of that. Sad story, of course. Well, it's a great story.
It goes on.
Yeah.
You feel better?
Yeah.
That's it.
Ford didn't give up on the idea of a multi-million selling medium-sized family saloon. They came up with a replacement. It was called the Sierra. Here is a picture of it. And to begin with, it was a bit of a lemon.
It was. When it came out, everybody said they hated its kind of futuristic aerodynamic shape. They said it looked horrid, like a jelly mould. And then everybody worked out the aerodynamics didn't even work.
Another problem was the motor trade hated it because that plastic front end, if you had a crash, it would boing back into shape, which was all brilliant, but you didn't know that everything behind it was actually smashed to pieces.
Now, Ford decided there was only one way to get everybody to fall in love with its new mid-sized family saloon, something they'd done before. Make a fast version.
What they came up with was this. The Sierra RS Cosworth. A car that could do 150 miles an hour.
Again. Oh yeah. Come on, this is it. Go, go, go. Oh, I was born to do this. Brilliant. Right, we're all set.
It was 1986. Lots of cars could do 150, but not a Ford. That was madness. BMW and Mercedes could not believe it. This was the gardener coming into the parlour and kicking the Baron's teeth out. To keep the road-going rocket ship pointing mostly in the right direction, it got beefed-up suspension, a limited-slip diff, and its most famous feature, that massive back wing. And that wing says everything about the Cosworth. Compared with grown-up things from Mercedes and BMW, it says, ah, sod off. I don't care what you think about me.
Go, go, go. Plenty of power, this is good. Try it now. Give me everything you've got. Oh.
This is like a really bad mate. You know, the one you absolutely love, but nobody appreciates you hanging around with him. Cosworth turned the Sierra into one of the most desirable cars on the planet. And because it only cost 17 grand, 6 grand less than a BMW M3, your local builder could have one. However, while everyone wanted Ford's latest working-class hero, not everyone was prepared to pay for it. Things got so bad by the early 90s that the Sierra Cosworth was 5.5 times more likely to be stolen than any other car. There were numerous reports at the time of Cosworth owners receiving insurance quotes that were more than the value of the car, and eventually ensuring a Sierra Cosworth became not just expensive, but impossible. They were uninsurable. But by then, it didn't matter. The Sierra Cosworth had done its job, just as the Lotus Cortina had done 25 years earlier, by making an ordinary family saloon seem impossibly cool.
Honestly, I'm just freaking drooling. Absolute legend. Drooling watching. We must now find out how fast let's see if I can still pronounce it properly, the Cosworth.
Yeah, I still
Yeah,
got
that's
it.
good.
That's it, yeah.
The Cosworth. You know what I mean, the Cosworth. Let's see how fast it goes around the Ebola drone. And away it goes, gentle off the line, but then a scuff of wheel spin as the turbo roars into life. The 1980s gear change workout there, and a lot of body roll on those soft 80s springs. Back down the isn't. This won't be the fastest car we've ever seen, but I can bet you Abby is having an absolute riot in there. Okay, hard braking for old lady's house. Back on the power for the blast to substation. Only field of sheep left. Across the line.
That's great. That's really exciting.
I was really expecting the full crossed up while crossing over. It does that four-wheel drifting, same as the Lotus Cortina.
That's what they do.
Anyway, let's see now how quickly Abby got it round the Ebola drome, shall we? Let's find out the time. Oh, quicker than I thought. What?
Well, it's faster than a Lamborghini.
I told you that thing was slow. It's actually slower than a Ford Sierra. But the interesting thing for me there is it's quicker than a Ford Fiesta ST 200, and they both have the same power, don't they? About 200 horsepower.
It did, yeah. I think what that goes to show is, despite all the improvements in suspension and tyres, you can't beat fitting something with a sodding great turbo. A massive turbo does the job.
Anyway, can I get back to our documentary?
Yes, do.
Because in 1993, Ford stopped making the Sierra and decided instead to export the idea that had revolutionised Britain to the whole world.
What they came up with was something they called a world car. Something not just for everyone here, but for everyone everywhere.
They called it the Mondeo, and it achieves something that no car in history has ever managed. Over the years, Richard, James and I have driven almost every car ever made. We've waxed lyrical about many of them, drooling over their styling or their handling. But incredibly, there is only one car that we all like. This one, the Mondeo ST Estate. Go.
Forward. Do you know what I liked? It's the fast version, but it was still comfortable. These seats were great. It still rides properly. It doesn't make a terrible racket. It's just civilised.
I like the way it was a proper practical estate. It had a massive boot, and Ford had the sense to give it 5 doors.
Yeah. I like the speed.
Oh, there's a surprise.
Oh!
Oh my God.
V6 engine, 200 horsepower. 0 to 67 seconds, top speed 150. It didn't look it, but this was as quick as a Cosworth. And when they turned it into the ST220 in 2002, it looked right as well. They should have sold these by the million. But there was a problem. This. The first so-called MPV, the Toyota Picnic. In 1996, when it was first introduced, we laughed at it because it seemed so stupid.
I mean, why name a car after something you might do in it? Picnic.
Oh, they didn't have a Toyota dentist, did they?
The Honda pop to the shops. It's just an ordinary act. It's not even exciting.
The Volkswagen dogging.
It's just,
It's a
it's
stupid
just
idea.
a naff thing to do.
And the MPVs kept coming, and leasing a Mercedes got cheaper, and the effect on Ford was astonishing. In 1994, they sold 127,000 Mondeos in Britain. In 2017, that was down to 12,000. In America, things are so bad, the Mondeo will be pulled from the showrooms this year. And it's predicted that soon after that, it'll go from the rest of the world as well. And when that happens, Britain will have lost much more than just a car. The Mondeo was never fancy or spectacular. It never won Le Mans. It was never awarded a Nobel Prize. It didn't write The Grapes of Wrath. It was just your mate, someone you enjoyed going to the pub with. And here's the thing. When someone fancy or spectacular, like, say, Mick Jagger dies, it'll be sad. But when your mate dies, that is heartbreaking. So, to give this car the send-off it deserves, we've booked Lincoln Cathedral. And invited some like-minded souls to mark the moment of its passing. Feels very sad. It's very sad, and it's not the only British motoring institution that's coming to an end. We are. This is not just the last in the series. I mean, sorry, it's the show as you know it is actually ending with, you know, the track, audience, us three, and really badly fitting jackets every week. Well, this is the last one.
It is. It is. And it's sad, but we have been doing it together for 17 years.
Going back in my head, there's the cow on the Camaro.
Yeah.
The indestructible Toyota.
Yeah.
Oliver.
Yeah.
Beach buggies across the dunes.
Yeah.
I mean, that was...
Driving down that ski, I was in there, driving down the ski slope in Colorado. That was one of the best things I've ever done.
It's all been epic. Don't stop.
What?
Don't stop. Carry on.
Well, we do have some good news. We do have some good news. We're not.
Oh.
We're not stopping.
We can't. We'd have to get jobs.
No, we're not actually stopping.
No, I mean, the truth is, Amazon loves us. We love Amazon, so we'll carry on a bit.
Yeah, we'll stick around. The thing is, as I said, the show as you know it is ending, and that's very upsetting for us. You know, the audience and the, you know, and this sort of thing and the track. But who'd like to see us doing more big adventures? Yeah. Road trips, specials. Who wants some specials? Yeah.
There is. There is.
Thank you.
There's still so much of the world we haven't been to.
So many people I haven't insulted.
So, there are so many cars he hasn't crashed.
Yeah, exactly. So, although this is gone, the Grand Tour goes on. It goes on. It goes on.
We are going to need walking sticks and nappies.
No, we are.
We are.
So while it's not goodbye from us, it is goodbye from this. Anyone want to buy a tent? See you. Take care.
soon.
Thank
Take
you.
care.